It's the 7th day of July, Dana. It's 2023. I'm going to be your host tonight. And my name, I got to read it. I don't know it off the top of my head. It's Dana Durnford. There we go. I thought I recognized that name. And you can call in if you like, or we're going to get Kevin Blanch, hopefully, on the line. I'm going to explain quickly at the beginning Fukushima's reactors, some of the radioactive fallout. Kevin's doing research expeditions in California where there's mass species dying off due to radioactive fallout from Japan. This has been going on for 12 years. We have a poll to reflect that tonight. Has Fukushima's 12 years of constant radioactive fallout already damaged the oceans and the species worldwide? So when the show was almost started, we had 8 people, and as soon as the show started, we only had 5. We've only been doing this for a decade, so I guess people haven't found me yet. So the story is nothing has gotten out of the reactors. That's Reactor 4, and that's the fake Reactor 4. Where you got media worldwide pretending they're in a building that don't exist. How could that possibly go wrong? So Reactor 4 and Reactor 3, well, the stumps of them anyway, are 2 of the reactors. The journalists have stabbed you in the throat every step of the way. Reactor 1 also detonated, and Reactor 2, which I thought I had there, but apparently I don't. Give me a second, though. Most things can be fixed. So there's Reactor 2, Reactor 1. So think about Reactor 1, it detonated, and I mean, it's kind of hard to appreciate how big these buildings actually are, but they put a Kevlar sarcophagus around it for 5 years, which made it incredibly toxic, but the homeless were dropping dead too fast, I guess. Reactor 2 claim Reactor 2 is what prompted TEPCO to discuss evacuating the workers because it burned continuously for several days. So I'm kind of confused because Reactor 2 and 3 are obviously destroyed, whereas Reactor 2 is kind of confusing for people. It burned continuously, though, for several days. So on top of this, the detonations, the explosions, we have what's known as radioactive fallout. You think of a snowstorm where it starts wherever and it covers the whole planet in about 20 days. And it never stops snowing worldwide. The sun never shows up again. It snows all day, every day. And the snow doesn't melt. It's cold, right? Well, flip that and consider the snowflakes as radioactive fallout, except that they're able to just float at the surface. They don't need to hit the ground. They're self-driven. They pulse energy at the speed of light, just shy of the speed of light. The gammas, the alphas, neutrons, and betas, physical atoms. Think of them as snowflakes, because that's what we're talking about. That amount, right? Where if you could see it, it would look like snow. And it pulses energy almost at the speed of light, and the gammas, the alphas, neutrons, betas, when they hit each other, they don't mingle. They hit each other and they change direction. It's known as a braking effect, but think about the fact that it's happening at the speed of light way quicker than the snap of my finger, obviously, thousands of times quicker. And it can pulse energy 10, 20, 50, 60 feet, no problem, every second for long past the human experience. So when they hit each other, they change direction. That's also known as X-rays. And so when you have so much, everything is getting a full body X-ray because you have all this breaking going on. The ocean currents, if it was just going into the ocean, this would still be a devastating event. Unfortunately, the plumes of the radioactive fallout, this model is 19.5 days from the Norwegian Institute of Air Research. So they decided to construct a fake Reactor 4 originally in 2013, 2014. So that's the official picture, and that. They're the official pictures of the building that no longer exists, and all the media is pretending they're in the buildings.
What I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4.
But number 4 doesn't exist. So why are the media taking a chance worldwide to tell that particular story? And this was 2013, 2014, where they claimed they were getting the fuels out of the pools. Now, why would the world media do something like that? Why pretend? Why are they out there for 80 years telling you it's like a banana and sunshine and walking in an airplane? Why are they growing food alongside of 1-ton bags of radiation where they picked up 30 million of them? And the truth is, it never stopped going into the ocean. The tanks were built, all of them, in 2013. And today they still have 1,000 tanks. 1,000 tanks. You can fill up these tanks in a normal single reactor running normally with 6 hours. Almost 5 hours would fill up all of those tanks. A single reactor each day. Each reactor needs 4,500 tons a million gallons a minute. So when it melts down, it's going to burn at 9,000 degree Fahrenheit temperatures instead of 600. So it needs a lot more water. It's TEPCO made Fukushima plant a machine for generating the radioactive runoff. So this has devastated the population. And they're coming up with all kinds of kooky excuses besides pretending to be in a building that don't exist. The die-offs recently of 3,500 sea lions was their claim, and is due to the bird flu. But when they show you the pictures, the sea lions are severe, incredibly severe emaciation. I've never seen nothing like it pre-Fukushima. And I spent a lot of my time under the ocean. I most likely have more hours under the ocean as a diver than any nuclear scientist on the entire planet, that's for sure. So these animals were emaciated. They didn't die of bird flu. They didn't die of domoic acid. So Kevin Blanch is on the beach in California yesterday in the day at the lowest tides of the year. And he's only finding a total of 7 or 8, 9 species. None of them are healthy. And we're going to call up Kevin right in about 1 minute. But if you go backwards to 2011 forwards, you will see mass die-offs, extinction events, extinction threat for salmon, loss of the sardines, the squid, the sea urchins, the kelp, massive sea star deaths. 2016, folks. West Coast biggest die-off, bird die-off, is the biggest ever recorded on the entire planet. The stomachs were empty. The birds were emaciated. No bird flu, no domoic acid. Never seen anything like it. Alarming, unprecedented in size, scope, duration. I was on the ocean doing research expeditions. That year, at that time, I was out for 5 months. I'd done 6 years like that. Death could reach many hundreds of thousands. This was sea lion die-offs too at the same time. They found over 1.4 million MERS and 1 million Cassini auklets, which are 2 different spectrums of the food chain. The auklets are microscopic animals. The MERS dive 600 feet all day and feed on anchovies, squid, sardines, and stuff like that. They also found many other species. It wasn't just MERS and Cassini auklets, despite the fact they were in, you're talking about the entire migratory had failed and starved to death, and the nurseries and rookeries have failed because there was no birds. If you don't lay eggs, guess what happens? The primary avian species also included not just the common murres, the thick-billed murres, the kittiwakes, the horned tuft puffins, gulls, the sooty and short-tailed shearwaters. It's just some of them, but it was also whales and seals and sea lions and dolphins and porpoises. We got 5 more, and then we'll call Kevin. Ongoing fish famine from U.S. West Coast, dearth of food across the oceans. Supply has been low since Fukushima. Looks grim and it's hard to watch. Worst wildlife die-off ever recorded anywhere on Earth underway. All of this is post-Fukushima. And we're not just talking marine die-off. Facing a possibility of extinction. And 2 more. Sea creatures sick, dying, and disappearing at an alarming rate all along the Pacific coast. And Kevin Blanch is currently going to update us, hopefully. New York Times, ocean life faces a mass extinction. We may be on the precipice of a mass extinction event, 2015. So we got a poll to reflect this because we have the documentation to back up our assertions. Has Fukushima, 12 years of constant radioactive fallout, and I just showed you a fraction of it, in fact a fraction of a percent, already damaged oceans and species beyond survival worldwide, is what I should say, but you only got so much room. We got a stunning 100%. Let's call Kevin. Hi everybody, hope everybody's doing well. This is a special Saturday night show, or Friday night show, because Kevin, we're trying to give Kevin some attention to this incredible, horrifying story that's unfolding. There we go. Kevin B.
Hello.
Hi, Kevin. Are you busy?
No.
Okay, so we're on the show right now live. I've noticed you posted lots of videos today, and a real super long one. I'm going to play a little bit of that in the background in a minute. And we're trying to get another update and put some attention to your research down there in California, where there's mass die-offs of species dying off, too, at the same time. Right, Kevin?
Right, it's unbelievable. Really staggering to me how everybody's ignoring this, and I worked all of PB point today, and it got real low and it stayed low the last 2 days, because you only get this a couple hours a year. And it got low and it stayed low. So usually, you might get 20 minutes or 30 minutes, but I got 3 hours out there today and yesterday. I be able to work the whole thing, and I never seen, I know that. PB point is such a great tide pool and a great place to look there in La Jolla. I've been in that pool my whole life, and I've never seen it so disgusting in my life as it was today. It just gets worse every year. And now it's gotten so grimy and gross down there that, because all the algae is just taken over. I've never seen so much green slime because everything's dead. So, but I found a couple small California hares. I found one huge beast. They're the black slugs. And I found a few of the orange slugs, the first ones I've seen, but that's there in the corner where Colt's in there. They back eddies all the way through. The only reason I found slugs there, and I always find some slugs there, is because they can feed on urban runoff. They can feed on sewer. They're not photoplankton feeders. They can feed on anything. They're like bats.
Yeah, they're algae feeders, and I didn't see any on my expeditions. I used to see them all the time when I was diving, right? But when I was researching, I'm glad you brought that up. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. So, did you find any shellfish today?
No. And, I worked the whole ribbon. The shellfish situation, because the ribbon this morning, I walked all the way from the Crystal Pier early this morning all the way over to PB Point along the ribbon that I've walked my whole life, and it was unbelievable how the lack of anything was there. There's not even a lot of kelp washing up anymore, and let alone any of the shellfish, the big shells, little shells. I saw one seagull eating a small hermit crab, but really no real crab, no real lobster. A guy friends with caught a lobster off the OB Pier yesterday, but, there ain't shit. And I've been working these tide pools my whole life, and post-Fukushima, they've crashed, but they're just getting worse. And now it's just getting, it's no coincidence that we have the highest red tide in history. And the other thing that people are confused, people just automatically just think red tide's natural occurring, the demonic acid, the algae plume. But this one's different. This algae plume is 800 miles long by 200 miles wide. And it's not urban runoff, and I could prove that it's not urban runoff. And I had this conversation with the Coast Guard, or with the lifeguards today. I'll tell you, I'd prove it. The heaviest of the plume is not off Los Angeles, is not off La Jolla, is not off San Diego, the urban areas. It's off Ventura and Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo. How rural it is up there? There's no, per se, urban runoff up there. And that's where it's the worst. And so it's simple to me, the pseudo-knots has moved in. It's getting so big because the healthy species, they're all missing. They're gone. And so the mold and the algae, which is the lowest form in the ocean, the lowest, and it's toxic. We used to call it the blob. It's taking over. You could see it take over that PB Point. And granted, PB Point, part of it is being fed by, urban rock, Camelon, Roundup, and sewer. And there's a lot of sewage that runs off here, overflow. And granted, that's growing some of the algae, but it's just thriving. I've never seen it so green and slimy in my life, and I've been in that pool for 60 years. And so it physically almost makes me nauseous. It's disgusting out there. Now, I did find two really sickly-looking sea stars on the bottom of the Crystal Pier, and I always find sea stars on the bottom of the Crystal Pier. And
super low tide. They're underwater for the rest of the year,
low.
Folks. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so people don't get this. When I do this, you're only going to see this for maybe 2 hours, 3 hours a year, twice a year. The summer ones don't get low like this. This is a rarity. We got that close, tight move, and the surge. The surge is usually pretty active, which means the flow of the ocean coming in or out. It's been really calm on this low tide. It's been really actually weird. She's been really serene. Pacific means calm, the Latin word, and she's been really calm out there for me the last 2 days. I just telling Peter, I said, these last 2 mornings, I've never been able to stay on those 2 big reefs like that for as long as I have, and the ocean not get me. And so I got, it's incredible footage. It's a lot of footage. It has nothingness, but it's historic because it's always underwater. And the upper tide pools, the upper tide pools will tell you everything about the health of the ocean.
That's the nursery of the ocean, see? For a lot of folks. There's incredible diversity in these tide pools. Up to 7,000 species should be visible in the coastline. You should have no problem finding that. Each time you go low tide, you'll find more and more and more. You're only finding a couple of algae. You only got a couple of algae in your videos, I see. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
So that's the thing that I always loved about the whole tide pool experience on the ocean. If you know what you're doing, you know where to go, how bad, which takes a lot of experience. And but the thing that I've always loved about it, it always surprises you. You always find something, and you're like, holy shit! Like today, I saw a sea turtle track. People are arguing with them. No. Sea turtles will come up. They lay down. They dig a hole. They put the eggs in, and they smooth it all with their stomach, really pretty, and then they crawl off. they're trying to hide it. They don't leave a trail, and I did see one this morning. And so the first one I've seen in years. But so there's always something that will surprise you, you know, if you're paying attention at low tide. You know, high tide's a whole other animal. You know, everybody's all gung-ho about high tide, but these low tide events like this, that had to be -2 today. You know, the chart showed -1.6 or 1.7, which is big, but in the summer. But I think it went much lower than that the last 2 days. And you never know. You never know till you get out there. But I mean, it almost made me physically nauseous out there. You know, it's so slimy and gross out there now because that algae, you know, it's slick. It's like snot, and I mean, it's dangerous being walking around in there, but it gives me the creeps. You know, it doesn't smell right. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't. I mean, it's just
there's no smell, which is a great question James Lucid had yesterday.
No ocean
I forgot
smell.
to
That
ask.
beautiful, strong ocean smell is gone, and it's been gone for. You know how that's a beautiful smell. I mean, I used to drive from Utah, and we'd be coming down through, and I'd be 100 miles away. And I remember my grandma says, "Oh, you know," because I was kind of a haywire kid, and she'd say, "Look at him, he's kind of shaking, getting all his dance." My grandma was, "God, look at that crazy kid." She says, "No, you can smell the ocean." And I could. I just got all turned on. I would get it like, you know, as soon as you could smell it. You could smell it 100 miles away.
You can, yeah.
Now you can't even smell it when you're on it. The smell's gone. You know, I mean, it's unbelievable. And I don't think people, the thing that I got to hammer, and it's how in denial everybody is. Oh, this been going on for years. No, it's not. No, it's not. These tadpoles were thriving and teeming with life in 2010. You know, that's inarguable.
That's a fact.
And so are the salmon, so are the whales. I mean, the ocean was doing fantastic in 2010. It was really, the humpbacks and the grays were making this huge comeback. Everybody was all fired up. You know, things were going good. The hatcheries in Oregon were thriving. The salmon returns were huge, and everybody was stoked. In Alaska, you know, the tadpoles are just teeming.
So you're not seeing no starfish.
No, I mean, so once you know,
you're not seeing groups of.
I saw some ochres up in on Crystal Pier once in a while, but that's the really. Of course, you'll see those, but we're getting maybe 1% of what they should be. But the thing that's stark to me is in the pools, the starfish will lay on the bottom of the pool. Those are when they see the healthy tadpoles, when you'll see a starfish just laying there calmly on the bottom of the pool, not attached to a rock trying to hide. And then starfish live to be 35 years old. People don't know that. And so I haven't seen now in nearly 10 years now, I have not found one really nice, serene, laying big California ochre or crimson just laying on the pool like it should be, calm, cool, and collected. They're gone. And, you know, you see some of the ochres clinging to a pier, or clinging to a jetty or some rocks, and that's because they're trying to hide and they're trying to, you know, I found those two buried in beneath the shitty-looking mussels on the pier today. I've never seen starfish do that. They were bored in there so deep. They're trying to survive. They're in survival mode.
And they're mutated, the ones you were showing last night.
Oh, they look like hell. Can you believe how they look? Yeah. You know, even those California hares that I found, that kid, his dumbass grandpa, you know, I had one in the bucket. I'm like, that's a baby you got.
Wow.
You know, you just took it away from whatever. But, you know, like I said, they're algae feeders, and they're, you know, they can live. The slugs are, but even they look sickly as hell. Even those oranges I found today, they look terrible. I mean, they just look. God, how about I found a couple sea anemones. One actually clammed up. I found two sea anemones that were actually eating, and one of my videoed actually as he was sucking in. Oh my God, those are the sickliest sea anemones. And I mean,
you're only seeing green ones, right?
They're not even freaking flowering. They're not even vibrant. They don't even have the leaf coming off them, let alone the flower in the middle. You know, the big, healthy cinemones, they look like a giant flower.
They
You
do,
know,
yeah.
They're so beautiful.
They normally
Amazing.
cover the rocks, eh? Even at low tide, they stretch out. And,
they stretch out, and they're huge, and they're flowering, and they're beautiful. They're really put off a really great vibe. Tide pools, really, when they're full of color and whatever, they'll give you the best vibe in the world. Because they're so bright, they're so vibrant, they're so colored, they just don't make anybody smile.
Oh, it's special.
And
these
tide pools make you fucking want to cry. You know, people all say, well, I want to be in marine biology. I'm like, well, why? You just be heartbroken, you know? And
yeah, because the world doesn't understand, right?
No, they're not paying attention. They're just,
the world,
you know.
The official story is everything is normal. And Kevin has shown it's not,
Well, I'm right there at the beach at people. I've never seen it so crowded today. They have a boot camp for children surfing. There's hundreds and hundreds of kids down there today, and I'm talking to them like, you do know where red tide demotic acid levels unforeseen in the history of the California, and even the biologists are out saying, even the mainstream bullshit of biologists are out saying, we don't know. Can this move to humans? Of course it can move to humans. It does it all the time. You know, demotic acid, you go eat some red tide freaking, shellfish and see what happens to you. It'll kill you. It'll attack your brain. It happens all the time. Not to mention, you call it, and here, this tourism economy, they're just ignoring it, you know, and it blows my mind how everybody's just not, well, I don't know what it is. It's worse than Orwell. Orwell couldn't dream this up. And the whole, you know, it's like I was talking to a young guy today, and he said, I always wanted to be a marine biologist, blah, blah. I said, well, why aren't you? Well, the university, I said, he's the most famous marine biologist in the history of the state of California. Doc Ricketts, right? He said, yeah. I said, after a typo down here, everything's named after. Doc Ricketts never went to college. Not one day. Doc Ricketts didn't get no biology degree from Berkeley or UC Davis or San Diego State. Those places are frauds. If Fukushima hasn't proven the fraud of academia, I don't know why. You know, it's like I've been saying over and over to everybody, the greatest PhD opportunity in human history was the effects on the Pacific Ocean and the northern hemisphere where the world's ecology by these meltdowns. It's the greatest PhD opportunity, and only 2 people on Earth took it. You know, and people could say they may have done it. Well, let me see your work. And if you don't put your field work out, where else
I can't find it anywhere.
It ain't there. No one did it.
It's terrifying. We need 1,000 people doing it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so it sounded maybe like it was a crazy thesis in 2011. You know, these are full-blown out meltdowns, which I knew they were. And they're going to push this energy in the ocean. It's unforeseen. This energy is going to break the chain. It's going to cause a starvation event. You know, it's really not that complicated to think about. They're pushing this unforeseen. Well, how can you test for something that you don't even know what it is? There's no Geiger counter that can even measure what Fukushima, because you don't know what's coming off Fukushima. Radiation is a big, broad term. I mean, the sun radiates. People actually radiate. You know, so a lot of things radiate. But the type of radiation that's coming off, how do we know? It never happened. The only other time it's ever happened is in the hemispheres. In the heavens is the sun. But that's 94 million miles away. You know, here, Livermore says bringing star power to Earth. Fukushima's only 6,000 miles away from the California coast. I mean, the bridge made it to Gold Beach, the whole overpass, in 6 days in the Japanese current and the California current. So the globe's not that big. The Pacific Ocean is not some big, giant bathtub. You know, it's diverse. And so you think about, you broke the soup, you call it, the broth, the cloud, you know, the milk. A lot of the old biologists used to call it the mother's milk. You know, what the ocean, what all these animals feed on. Well, you kill that, you're going to kill everything. And God, what a catastrophe it's been. It's unarguable science now that this is a 90 to 95% drop off the cliff in just 12 years in every species you can think of in the ocean. anchovies, sardine. Like I said, it's a starvation event. I was on the ocean when the birds were eviscerated. I was walking, one of the first ones to report it. They were just everywhere on Pismo, washing up the mirrors. And even then, I said, it's a starvation event. You know, and the scientists are mystified, they're baffled, they're alarmed, they're stuffed, and they're going to get back to you. Okay, sure. Cutting up people over the chainsaw. You can obviously see they're enumerated and they're starving to death. You know, you take away their food. I mean, take away, a mammal's food, and they're going to starve. They're going to get sick, and they're going to die. And that's what's happened. All the years did it, from Alaska all the way down. You know, the salmon did it. Tim's up there on the ocean, and he's at the, Coal River Hatchery. Those numbers are so pathetic, and he says, you should see what tiny few fish do come in. He says, they're sucked up and so skinny, it's disgusting. They're sick. It blows my mind. And no one seems to give a shit. I don't know.
No, we're watching your videos as you're talking, Kevin, and I'm showing pictures of what it was post-Fukushima in between all of this and some headlines. And, have you heard John LaForge? He runs Nuke Watch. And so I contacted him yesterday, and I sent him all the pictures of the reactors. I sent him all kinds of links, all kinds of headlines. He sent me back an email. He said, well, I haven't seen any documentation saying that the reactors' fuel pools have melted down. And
please. I have that documentation.
Well, I sent it to him, right? And the pictures on the pictures on them on their own are, I mean, there's no building lift. Yeah. And so that was pretty disappointed.
Yeah, those guys are in denial. They're just out making some money on an AdSense account. They're not in these for the right. None of these guys. They're like Beyond Nuclear, Kevin Camps, and Helen Caldecott and Buzzy. Those guys are profiteers. They're not biologists.
They're terrible. They're terrible people.
All
Yeah.
of them are that way. They're phonies. Anybody that says that, because I was so heavily involved with the San Onofre shutdown, and so we fought for FOIA documents, the small teeny group of us down here, and we got them off Fukushima because there was a big debate on the dry cask containers we were going to put in, and how this dry container, blah, blah, blah. So in the FOIA documents, and we had two really world-class FOIA document readers working with me. You had Maureen Burke and Shane Russell at the time were the two premier FOIA document readers in the world. They're both involved with me. I mean, both those go through, and they were filing for everything they get their hands on and going through. And so we got the FOIA documents on the dry cask containers and the spent fuel experimentation that was all going to Fukushima. And they actually sent me pictures inside the FOIA documents of this dry cask containers inside, because it wasn't all just spent fuel pools. There was some experimental dry, blown to smithereens, pictures of them blown wide open, laying on the freaking ground at Fukushima. And so the Zerk fires, and in all the FOIA documents, plain ass admitted it. The KLKA study that Buesler's name's on, that got leaked to me, I reported that in June of 2011, and it point blank said that their study showed 1,000 times background levels of cesium-137 in the water column 40 kilometers off the coast of Fukushima in 2011. 1,000 times the background, and their conclusion now it's out there, it's on my website, it's already into the biosphere. That was in 2011. And so anybody who says that this document's not out there is full of shit. It's been well documented. Jan Milky the Clown documented the shit out of it back then. Rad Chick documented the shit out of it. I documented the shit out of it in those early days. With FOIA dog, Patrick Henry. I worked with Patrick, and I'm still friends with Patrick Henry, And that whole FOIA document cloud, we dug so deep into every single FOIA document, and it was all there, right there in black and white, and we heavily documented and proved it. Patrick Henry was on Chris Hedges, or not Chris Hedges, what's his name that committed suicide? Poor name. Michael Rupert. Yeah, Michael Rupert. So we were on Mike Rupert, we prepared wherever, and, be right before Rupert killed himself, and that whole FOIA freaking thing was all laid out perfectly. We named it Plume Gate, And so it was well documented by us. So anybody who says it's not out there is full of shit. You know, and that was in 2013.
Yeah, John LaForge runs Nuke Watch. This is they got a huge following. He was arrested a few months ago in Germany and sentenced to several days or something.
Yeah, I remember.
And he knows better. There's you know what I'm like. You know what I'm like.
And go to Germany.
You know.
I've been in Germany.
You know what kind of information I showed him. I sent him, right?
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way he can say a statement like that. And I was surprised he even answered. Because normally they don't answer me, right? He actually answered me.
He's full of shit.
And I sent him back. I sent him more information. We cover the news cycle, folks, 5 days a week, and we cover probably 30 or 40 stories. And every story, the journalists are just completely dishonest when they talk about nuclear. Kevin does it all the time, same thing. And so now, currently, you're down in California, day 2. You get the lowest tides of the year. And I was we're watching your video. I seen 3 algae, kelp cabbage, kelp weed, and bull kelp. There should be around 700 algae. Should be over 5,000 invertebrates without the backbones in those algae.
And beautiful and flowery and, laying in there, not this slimy looking dead algae that's laying there.
That's right, yeah, and it's not healthy, that's right. And you're not seeing any groups of little tiny, sandpipers and stuff like that where they'll fly in unison all along. You're at the lowest tide of the year. You would expect to see thousands of birds.
And the little knocks here by the thousands right here. I mean, PB's famous for them. There's none there. None. And so, like I said, when it's low tide like that, they line up. I did see that lesser heron was out there today and its mate. I got some really good video of that small heron.
I seen that, a white one, yeah.
And it was trying. Well, this was a yellow-legged lesser heron, which are pretty rare around here anymore. And then, of course, there was the snowy eaglet. There was a few of them out there, but there are usually thousands of those on low-tide events like that. And you could see them, and they're out there scavenging and looking, and they couldn't find shit. They were with me. I was right there with them the whole time. They followed me around. I followed them around, and I watched them the whole time. They watched me the whole time, and they didn't find shit. I saw one snow eaglet grab a hold of one little teeny smelt, and that was the only fish I seen. Any of the seagulls.
I think I've seen that, yeah. In your video. You got that on video, right?
Tide. They usually have a heyday. They fill up for weeks on low tide. And
oh yeah, well they usually come ashore in the millions and lay their eggs. But I didn't see any. There's no life obviously in the videos. It's just some basic life existing. And so you're going to get tomorrow in by the sounds of it?
What's that?
You're going to get the tide in again tomorrow, you're hoping?
Yeah. I'm hoping to get San Onofre tomorrow.
Oh, you're going to do San Onofre tomorrow, that's a very old plant, right?
Well, that's the one I was heavily involved on the shutdown. They're tearing it down right now, moving the waste to Utah. That's the first one we kicked down. That's historic. That's one of the greatest grassroots activists successes there was. That's the first one. We got to shut down in 2013. No dry casting, but we'll see where I end up tomorrow. The slow tide event happens quickly. We'll get a little bit tomorrow, but the last 2 days was the best we're going to get. It's not going to be anything like it was this morning or yesterday.
That's right, yeah.
It happens quick. And I was just telling Peter, I was so thrilled the last 2 mornings. It was hard work, man. So I put in a lot of miles, and going across that slime like I go across, I'd love to see someone try that.
It's a long way. It's a long way out to the low tide line, right?
Oh, and on the top of all that slimy rock, that shit's like walking on snot. I'm a good skier, and I'm a pretty good surfer, and it's way harder than you on the road.
Whatever it is not very healthy looking. It's a slime, right?
It's disgusting. It's a algae, the Latin words of it, we have it. It's the lowest form of life in the entire ocean. No, in the world. we know, like your sink, you know, you don't do your dishes like that, it's going to grow black mold. Black mold is the lowest form. And same with this algae that's showing up in the ocean. It's deadly. That's why it's so toxic.
Are you seeing any insects?
Not shit for insects. I mean, hardly none. Usually a stink bank right there in the summertime. You know, we call it stink bank for a reason, because the black eddies in there and everything deposits there. I mean, I always find dead animals, God, you name it, I find it there. And it's just so full of flies and insects, you can't even walk through it this time of year. Nothing.
Now there's nothing
out there.
No, it should be, folks, there should be around 1,000 species that the high tide lines will invade the low tide line as the tide goes down, and that's the natural ecosystem, right?
We call that the ribbon. So I walked from the Crystal Pier early this morning, and, you know, I've walked that ribbon my whole life. And I could not believe the ribbon this morning. Never in my life, and I've been here my whole life on that freaking ribbon, have I seen nothing across there. And, I mean, there was nothing. There wasn't even any little shells. I mean, I couldn't believe it.
So no snails,
nothing.
No sand dollars, no snails, no scallop, dead old shells, dead old clam shells, or dead gooey ducks, razorback clams. None of that, eh? Wow.
The only crab I saw was that Seagull had a hold of that one.
Yeah.
Eating that little hermit crab. And, you know, and I'm sure they probably killed that Seagull. You know, and there's that woman's running out with her dog that says, hey, it's outside, you know, if those dogs eat one of those crabs, which, you know, dogs will eat anything. I said, it'll kill a dog, which it will. You know, and that's well documented down here. They got warnings blaring everywhere down here. Do not eat shellfish. Do not eat shellfish. You know,
well, there's no shellfish to eat. It's completely naked.
Right.
There is no shellfish. And you're not even finding old shells on the beaches.
No.
You're not finding old, and we don't see any in the videos. Like, that's an amazing statement. So they've been gone quite, you know, like 7, 8 years.
Well, in 2015, 16, 17, I remember being in Carmel and Monterey, and I'm like, holy shit, this is the biggest bullcat I've ever seen in my life. It's just washing up in piles like trees.
I'm seeing baby barnacles, but no adult barnacles.
Just giant kelp.
No starfish. And there's around 70 species of sponges live in the tidal zones. We're not seeing any of them whatsoever. There's around 480 species of worms, and you'll see their casings. Their casings would be what you would expect, like something where they can shoot out and pull themselves back in for protection and stuff like that.
Sea anemones live on. Sea anemones grab a hold of those and suck them in and suck the nitrogen out of them.
Yeah, there's around 80 different species of them. And starfish is around 74 species, highly visible colors. And at high tide, when the sun starfish is moving through, these starfish will open up and make a path for the sun starfish to make their way through, because they're predatory, right? And I used to do it all the time as a commercial diver. I would take a sun starfish and put them right where there was a lot of starfish, and they would open up a path. Or it takes a few hours, and they would open up a path for the big starfish to move through, and then they would close right behind it. It's really magic, right, how the whole system works. And it would be you should be seeing lots of sea cucumbers in the tidal zones and the tide pools. You're not seeing nothing, And
no cucumbers, no yellow banana slugs. I did find a few little orange slugs today. We call them oranges, but they were.
That's right, Yeah, and they come in multiple colors, same as the starfish and the sea anemones, for instance. They'll come in multiple colors per species. So you're talking 70 to 80 species of each, including the sponges, where they got around 70-odd species. They all come in multiple colors for each species, and that's why you expect to see this incredible colors wherever you're going. Sorry, and you're not seeing the colors at all. Nothing. No, your videos are really clear. There's nothing there.
So back to the bull kelp situation. When the bull kelp forest, and I started reporting that in 2014, said, look at this. This is bad. I've never seen piles of bull kelp giant. Now it's been reported that the giant kelp forest started to disappear in 2011, and now they're reporting wipeout, just like I reported. Same with the trees, the scenario. So all this we did in real time, and they want to come back and regurgitate our work 10 years after the fact. Well, too late, So, I mean, if they would have listened to us then, and the world would have freaking ganged up on the nuclear energy crime syndicate like they should have, and the world could have sent in, an international team into Fukushima and tried to do some entombing like they did at Chernobyl. It would have been 1,000 times Chernobyl, trying to do something, maybe but they didn't. They ignored it, and they just let this catastrophe unfold. And it's not a coincidence. And people say, "Oh, it didn't affect humans, so it don't affect them." Oh, really? And why did the longevity in North America start to plummet in 2012? We have bypass surgery, we have an open heart surgery, we have organ transplants. We're not living longer, and that's just another coincidence that it started to collapse in 2012. How many people have died from demonic acid? How many people have died from these, leukemias and cancers and all, like you said, all these autoimmune deficiency diseases? Because Fukushima, well, you can't smell it, you can't see it. It goes back to Semmelweis, Indiana. Remember, he was the germ theory guy. He says, doctors need to wash their hands. And he was a doctor, and he proved it. And they said, no, little invisible germs fly out of your cloud. And they threw him in a rubber room and beat him to death. And that was 60 years before Louis Pasteur. So that's what it's like. People say can't smell it, they can't see it. They're like, well, who knows what it is?
Hey, Kevin,
Einstein called it.
Kevin, give people an example of a nuclear cover-up in America. There's lots of them, I know.
I go clear back. I start clear back with Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So Hiroshima and Nagasaki, to this day, in the United States, we have not seen, the government has the footage, and we have not seen
They had
footage.
color footage
Russia,
too, right?
Yeah,
they hid that
it.
away.
And so Russia put out some on the 75th anniversary that covered that up. The Nevada test site where my dad was a drafted Marine and nuked to death, they covered that up. Chalk River, even, of course, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, 79. Now they're saying, yeah, it was a partial meltdown 44 years later. How about Santa Susana right here in SoCal? I mean, how about that cover up?
That was 460 times more radiation they emit than 3 Mile Island. And that was 20 years ago. They emit that. It's still going on. I just wanted people to understand there's a lot going on. And
well, the atomic energy, which is called the Department of Energy now, post the bomb, post the war, got all that free money. I always say they opened up the Manhattan Project, they opened the spout, unlimited funds, they never turned it off. And, right here in La Jolla. And, and so it's just all this money flowing out to all these institutions and all these people. And, everybody just, they've got it in their heads, the scientists in the last 20, 30 years. When I was a kid doing academia studies, there were some fantastic professors, and I got taught by some good ones who really cared. And they, and I learned. But now those guys are all gone. The modern day professor is about their money, and they could care less about field work. They don't even want to. Just like this guy in Germany. I spent a lot of time in Germany and in Austria on the shutdown, and that dude, everybody knows he's a fraud.
I can't stand professors. Yeah, I hate their guts now after all these years.
Yeah, they used to be good, but that was
I hate their guts.
Ago.
I despise
Yeah,
them.
they're the worst.
I despise them. They're
I was in the
disgusting.
pools. That
The
same
fucking
pool about
animals
4
is
years
what they are.
ago. 5
They're
years ago, I was in the
disgusting.
pool, and there's a San Diego University old man professor out there with his class, an old school guy. And so I start talking to his class. I mean, I just cut him off. And you should have seen the class gather around me. They weren't even listening to him no more. They gathered around me, and these kids says, well, yeah, I grew up here. I went to PB Elementary. Yeah, we used to come down here, just like you said, just like you did. And this thing was full of life. We used to come with school, PB Elementary's right there, right up the road. And, march the kids down like they did when I was a little kid. And he says, yeah, it was just full of life. I'm 18 years old. And when I was in Helmand, so just, in 2008, 9, we were here. And so he's all ears, and I told the professor, I says, did you guys even mention in Fukushima in your class? This is just coincidence. And you know what he looked right at me and said?
What?
No, you're probably right. That's what he said to me. Then why aren't you teaching this if I'm probably right?
How hard is it to learn, really? It's not that hard for these guys.
No.
They're not allowed to, we've covered them verbatim now for 12 years.
Yeah.
And just on Fukushima. and it's disgusting. And
Look what they did
we're
to me at
losing the
Weber
planet.
State.
We're losing the planet. There's no
Yeah.
way. There's no way back because 80 years of no checks and balances, and we still gotta hold them accountable. We still gotta stop them. We still gotta
Yeah.
stab the fucking nuclear industry to death and get rid of
Well,
it.
if you're not fighting back, what's the matter with you? You know, really, come on.
Yeah.
You know, everybody says, "What are you trying to say?" I'm trying to save the animals. I love my grandkids. You know, I mean, you're really not going to fight for Mother Earth. You're not going to defend this whole. You're going to let these monsters pull this off. What's the matter with you? You know, what's the matter with people? You
Yeah,
know?
it should be considered
And so-
child abuse not to fight back if you got children. You should be fighting back.
Yeah. And so, where is the contemporary person, you know? And people aren't paying attention to mainstream media, so they can lie out there. So people know about this because they've watched enough alternative media over the years to know about Fukushima. They're just, well, fuck it. What am I going to do about it? You know, that kind of attitude. It's really turned apathetic to let the ecology collapse, and they're okay with it. You know, well, what the fuck? You know, okay, not me. I'm not playing that way. I mean, I was given 2 months to live 12 years ago. And if I played that way, if I fell out, I'd be dead. You know, here I have a open heart surgery, a pacemaker. You know, I've been in critical condition, and yet I'm the one doing all this little type of work, all this historic, incredible work. It blows my mind, actually. And everybody just kind of turns their back on me. Why? But, you know, I said in 2011, all new knowledge will be persecuted.
Well,
I'm saying that all the time.
Yeah, you'll drive yourself crazy if you try to solve that particular riddle. Why has everybody turned their back on us?
But you go back in time, you go back to Semmelweis, you go back to Albert Einstein. People think Albert Einstein was abused and attacked hard by the nuclear industry. He was blackballed from the Manhattan Project. They went after him viciously. Now he's considered the most brilliant person on earth. But, I mean, then they went after him. And so, but you think about it, he was right. He was a fierce anti-nuclear energy. Fierce, and so was Joseph, who invented the bomb. I mean, they went after those guys. They went after Oppenheim. They went after anybody that turned on them. They went after Sokolov. They went after Semmelweis. So I look back
now it's
this ain't
80
nothing
years
new.
of inbreeding. The same generations, future generations
Yeah,
are now in
kids
positions of
work for the
authority, and it's
cartel,
terrifying.
you know, and
They're hateful scum.
yeah.
They're incredible scum.
They think they're superior to the world.
Well, I
and
mean,
they
like,
think that they're,
We can't have a
Piece of shit.
future and nuclear at the same time. We just can't have it. And
I think that's what they want.
you know, after Hiroshima, they took several thousand dead Japanese back to Los Alamos National Laboratories, and they incinerated them and sniffed their ashes for isotopes.
Yeah.
That's got to be crimes
That's
against humanity.
unbelievable.
That's some evil stuff.
Here
you know?
I am at the Enola Gay hangar, and Sudoku folding without a great niece herself shows up. That's their idea and presents me with a real folded paper crane. That's the Enola Gay flag there. International media, and no Utah, no American media is even there. What a marquee thing. And, you know, the Prime Minister of Japan bows to me and tells me, thank you, NATO-Con. And I've got cancer, and I get no media, I get no attention for that. I was a pretty famous professor, we would say really famous in the day. And they just, like I said, look what they've done. So it blows my mind, and everybody's just gone along. You know, how? Why? Media plays along, like you said. They fake the footage of Fukushima. Why would you do such a thing?
It's hard to comprehend for the average person how many people it takes to cover this up, right? The enormity of it. And for the media to come out and pretend they're in the pool means all the media have to play their part too. They can't contradict them for it to work. For a professor to come out and claim that it's harmless, all the universities have to participate, and all the disciplines that could have, you know, brought some light to the issue.
Well, you know how they did that, Dana? So the JSTOR did that in the 90s. So what happened on your PhD, they changed the rules, and you had to put your PhD and all your graduate work and all your research work into, you had to give it to them and to their publishing house. They changed that in the 90s, and if you didn't give it to them, they wouldn't tenure you. They wouldn't give you a PhD. So they've had 30 years of controlling the PhD. So in order to be a professor at a university and get a cushy job, you have to play along, or you don't get that position. So the only people that have been put in the position, Lassa, are the people that are willing to play along, and they're not going to rock the boat. So the counterculturists, the really good professors like myself, we all got forced out. You know, and so
I've covered over 1,000 professors, and that lied every facet.
Breed now.
It's really
from the same cloth.
how can you ever trust them again? Say
you can't.
It's the biggest breach of academic in history.
Dr. Burroughs at Weber State is 97 years old, and I'm saying, you know what he says? He says academia ran its course and it capitulated in the early 90s, and he says it needs to be ended and over.
It's useless.
Actually, the research is
it's a burden to humanity, right?
Right. They're asymmetric to any good cause. Now they're the problem. You know, and I'm an ex-professor, and I tell my grandkids say, I'm not going to college, and I don't want no part. I said, good, don't. Why would you? You know, self-educate. You know, look what they did to Aaron Swartz. Aaron Swartz was the self-educate kid. You know, so I'm like, just like me with the typos. I tell everybody, well, Doc Ricketts, you know, I have multiple degrees. I have a lot of college degrees. But Doc Ricketts is the most famous marine biologist in American history, bar none. He never went to college for one day. He has self-educated himself. So that's what it's going to be. And then we run to YouTube, and now YouTube's gotten controlled and kettled us and, you know, done their thing to us, you know. And so where else do we go? You know, Twitter's starting to let you can pay a fee a month, which I did now, and you can upload unlimited. You can up to an hour videos on Twitter now. And so I don't know. You think it's going to change, and there's somewhere else to go, because you go to these counterculturists like Rumble and these other ones. Well, the extreme radicals, which we're not. You know, we're not conspiracy theories. And they want to group us in with conspiracy theories. We're the opposite of conspiracy. We're research PhDs. Well, everything that we're documenting is unarguable fact. We're not saying this happens, blah, 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 this. What we're doing is the opposite of that. So they want to group us into that. And that's a problem. So, and we got grouped into there for a while. You know, Renson, freaking Alex Jones, and those guys got grouped into that pile, and they drug us in. But we're not that. We're actually doing the research what a traditional PhD has done for, you know, hundreds of years. That's what you and I have done. And we're documenting this catastrophe, you know, with real work and real research. You know, boots on the ground. That's the only way you can do it.
Yeah.
And what else are we supposed to do?
And I provide GPSs of everywhere I went all those years. And
yeah.
I used to say years ago, how did it become such a crime to go out and take pictures of the coastline and do a species count?
Yeah.
I was like yourself, under siege year after year after year. And I mean under siege. Under siege. From hundreds and hundreds of different directions. It was really something.
The slander that went on to us, the way they slandered us.
Reputation's destroyed forever. Yeah, they got the internet covered in propaganda that'll never go away.
Yeah,
and if you look up Dana Durnford, you'll find all the propaganda. And if you come to find Dana Durnford, you say, well, actually, he's a pretty reasonable person. He provides evidence all the time. But if you listen to them, I'm a demon. I'm a fucking demon.
Yeah, they slandered the shit out of us illegally, which was, we know that was funded by the NEI, which is a branch of the nuclear industry. I mean, it's grotesque what they did to us. It's illegal. By the way, that was in critical condition they were doing, which is felonies in all 50 states. But they got, you know, the nuclear, they can do whatever they want to me. You know, and I take these guys. When, like I said, when did it become a crime? Like I was telling a guy today, if I'd done the exact work that I've done 40 years ago, I'd probably have 3 or 4 Nobel Prizes. You know, I'd be famous. But now I get spit at and attacked for doing what? I mean, we're doing honorable work, really honorable, good work that nobody else is doing. We're sacrificing our lives for this cause. Our whole lives is being sacrificed.
Oh, yeah, big time.
You know, we could be doing something else.
It's ridiculous how much of my life now I got put into.
And what do we get for it? Slander? You know, I go back to Semmelweis. You know, if people don't know who Semmelweis, look up Savior of Mothers in Vienna. And he's one of the greatest scientists in world history. He was right there. And he got slandered and attacked to the point they put him in a rubber room and beat him to death. And he was right the whole time. So I remember my 7th grade science teacher, Mrs. Cole, she was, she knew I was a gifted kid, and she's like, Kevin, she always talked me into going to biology fields. She always felt that I had the mind for it, and I was always fascinated with Einstein back then. She says, to go into that and stand up to the establishment, and she's the one that taught me about Einstein, he was viciously attacked. When you think that he was all this now. And she says, that's a hard burden. And that the real people that do it have to have real fortitude and have strength. And she used to tell me, she used to do this contest where you'd hold your arms out. And the person, I could always win. I would always win. I could hold my arms out, my side longer. And she says, that's why you're going to be a good scientist one day, because you got strong shoulders, and that's what it takes to be it. And I didn't really understand that now, but she's right.
You got to have a thick skin to do this stuff, man. Holy smokes. I can imagine how many people got chased away over the years. Must be enormous, right?
Well, think about it. The way they've attacked you, the way they attacked me, who wouldn't give up? And I haven't given up, and you haven't given up.
Who's going
Anybody else would give up.
And oh my goodness, let me think now. So you're not seeing. I'll go take you back to the ocean. Now, Kevin Blanch, for anybody who's not familiar, is on the ocean currently on the coastline in the lowest tides of the year, and he's not finding more than 7 or 8 very, very few of each species, but 7 or 8 species. Nothing is healthy, and it's just heartbreaking to see that the world doesn't care. The world is literally dragged into complacency and has no concept of the danger we're facing. Currently, Japan, so right just for a few minutes, Kevin, Japan is claiming that nothing but tritium is going to get out of the reactors, and that's only going to be over the next 3 decades, and it'll be 2.2 grams, and nothing has gotten out of the Fukushima site. So that's a new story that's been out there for about 3 weeks.
That's God. I've been watching it.
Like, wow, right? And so this is about Asia. Go ahead, Kevin. I'm sorry.
Well, you can go right to my site. My Google site is called Blanch Schwartz, and right on the top of it, I have the International KLK study, which is posted and actually was leaked to me, and now it's out there. It shows 1,000 times background levels of the cesium-137 in the biosphere in 2011. The salmon tuna was showing up here in San Diego in the summer of 2011 with like 1,200 becquerels of cesium-137 in them, and so the rockfish, China just reported the rockfish off Fukushima had 18,000 becquerels per kilogram of cesium. And if people don't understand, cesium-137 is only from a nuclear fission event. It's the only place it comes from. And the half-life's 30 years, and these levels, and so it isn't like it's not out there. So when they say, oh, it's just trending, I just laugh my ass off because it's contrary to what's already been reported out there.
Right.
It's been reported.
But the official story worldwide for the last almost 3 weeks is nothing escaped the plant in the last 12 years, and only 2.2 grams will get out. I mean, that's an incredible story when the buildings are all destroyed, the fuel pools are gone. I mean, really, right? That shows you how much control they got.
The government's own data that's out there, and the thing that makes it comical
it doesn't matter, though. Yeah.
I mean, it's hilarious, actually. You can see you laugh or cry. And to think that the world's going to buy that with the counterculturist media that's been out there since Fukushima. Now, you got to remember in 2011, 2012, 2013, 2014, clear up to 2018, there was no censorship, really. That it was out there, and so the data all was put out there, and literally hundreds of millions of views.
We got, but what I'm saying is we got thousands and thousands and thousands of protesters in the streets every day in South Korea. 85% of the population is frightened that they're going to release tritium, but they've already released everything over the last 12 years. But they actually hyped it up so much on purpose to dilute what happened is they got protests going all over the Asian countries in particular, Taiwan, Japan, China, and South Korea in particular. The protest is amazing, but they're protesting something that's been going on for 12 years.
People don't know this. Yeah. They've been protesting the whole time post-Fukushima. It's just we haven't seen it. Like in Taiwan, the nuclear reactor shut down.
I've covered it.
videos
Yeah,
I have
I've covered it. Yeah.
in China, and in China they're chanting when they were talking about the fish changing the limits of the fish coming into China in 2017, and you can hear them, and they're chanting Fukushima by the hundreds of thousands in China. So they've been protesting the whole time. And you go to Europe, go to Germany, go to Austria, go to Copenhagen,
Yeah.
which I do, and bring up, they're all over Fukushima. You remember when they had the big symposium and at the UN, and they were talking just what you said, only nothing's got to escape, whatever, and you remember they showed the camera over on the German delegation, and they were all laughing?
That's right, yeah.
They were all laughing because
Yeah, that was CAPS 26, was it, or something? Yeah.
Yeah. I remember and they showed the German. The Fukushima never killed anyone.
Everybody blew up laughing, yeah. But what I'm saying is they have whipped up a lot of protesters, and I covered it regularly, particularly the last couple of weeks. They got a lot of people protesting the tritium, and I thought it was amazing because obviously this has been going on 12 years. We're covering it the whole time. It's 5 days a week. But to see this switch of where they're promoting this story that only tritium got out, and people are actually protesting it. South Korea is buying all kinds of salt and hoarding it because they're worried about the ocean getting contaminated. And it's just mind-boggling how evil the industry is. Yeah.
It's Orwellian. It's 1984. Orwell couldn't dream it up. But that's what we're seeing on our media reports in North America.
Every day.
I call bullshit on all of it. Just because they're feeding us this full of shit narrative in North America doesn't mean that's what's really going on.
No, of course not.
I'd like to be over there. But I think it's very different dynamic over there than what we're being told.
I would imagine.
Just that dumb sheep. You know, and you know what we get fed. I mean, I spend so much time in Europe. It's a whole nother world over there. All the Fukushima food has been banned in Europe the whole time, and it still is. And you go talk to anybody, they're all over Fukushima, like stink on shit all over Europe. And here in North America, you know how people are here? Go on vacation, me-ism. It's not that way in the rest of the world. You know, so it's this batch here. So I don't put a lot of weight into their bullshit tritium narrative. I think it's just a crock of shit like everything the American media puts out, which is always bullshit. So I'll be back at it in the morning. So
you got
back in the tadpoles in the morning.
Yeah,
I'm gonna work up the coast. So we'll see how it plays out.
I mean, they're talking about 3,500 sea lions in Peru died. They're trying to blame it on bird flu, but the pictures they're showing us were all emaciated animals that went from 2,000 pounds down to about 200. And they're calling it the bird flu. They're blaming the die-offs on everything. They're just making it up they're making it up as you go along.
And then they'll come right out after they do all the testing, whatever. Scientists are mystified, they're baffled, they're stumped, they're perplexed. That's all we've heard. You know, we've heard that. Nothing for 12
over
years.
and over and over.
Only one. I mean, it's Fukushima denial, which I call plutonium. So, like I said, we just keep hammering the work, and we'll let it shake out. We were right the whole time. It might have sounded, I could see ignoring this in 2011 and 2012. They're like, well, how can you ignore this when the visual proof on it, low tide, showing you this? And you're still going to deny it? Well, go ahead. At your own peril. I'm not going to live that way. You know, so just let them. You know, let them. You know what I always say, Dana, and I've said this the whole time. Let them brand themselves in history. Go ahead. People are going to look back at this time and say, what the fuck? What was the world doing? You know, where were all these people? Like, how many people live here in Southern Cal? You think anybody shows up to help me? Oh, hell no. You know, they chose to ignore it all.
We need 1,000 people doing it. Yeah, we need 1,000 people all around the Pacific Ocean doing the same things, see? And even then, the industry they'll just hire more people to do the cover-up. They'll get more university students from the nuclear industry to do the cover-up.
Well, here's the thing I say. Good luck trying to put my genie back in a bottle. Good luck trying to put my lightning back on yours. Good luck. We've penetrated the world's psyche.
For sure.
Years and hundreds of millions of views. they're not putting our freaking toothpaste back in a tube. But they can try, and they can kettle, and they can pull every trick.
They are,
But
yeah.
our work's out there. It's in people's brains. I have people walk up to me. I don't care where I'm at. It's like the typos yesterday. One from Italy comes up to me, and they always say, "Oh, and they're real calm, cool, collected." And they come up to you and talk to me. "Oh, you're the typo guy. You're this, that, blah, 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 blah." I don't care where I go, anywhere in the world. I'll get 3 or 4 a day, every day, come up to me. I had people come up to me today. But they're not willing to participate or help, but they sure the hell know who I am, and they sure know what my work is. So we did what we had to do, so it's out there, and we just keep doing it. What else can we do? Give up?
That's the cards we're dealt, right? As we got to try our best. Anyway.
That's it.
Okay, Kevin. Let's
All right.
We'll pick up on Sunday, maybe get you on for
I'll be
the
here.
first part for half an hour or something, and that'll give you time to get through it and a day to think about it. No, I probably won't. We'll have not enough time to really finish up, but we'll get an update anyway. And we appreciate tonight. That's great. Fantastic. The videos were amazing.
Those are good videos the last 2 days. They're historic footage, it's historic low tide, and the bottom line, they're out there. Tell people, get them backed up. You can use my video. Anybody can use anything you want. I'm not going to copyright anybody.
And people
I don't care what you do with my videos.
And people can donate with links on your site and underneath your videos. And I showed the channel at the beginning. There's Kevin Blanch on YouTube, and he can't do it on wishes. He needs to raise money to keep it up. And he's flying down multiple flights. It's a struggle to carry out this stuff. So try to support him if you can. Kevin, we'll talk to you Sunday, my friend. And
all right, thanks.
San Diego Pete, shout out. Thank you for helping Kevin.
San Diego Pete, shout out.
And we'll see.
Keep him off the tequila. He'll be fine.
No, we appreciate it big time. We'll see you on Sunday, Kevin. Thank you again for what you're doing, my friend. Yeah, God bless. Take care. That's Kevin Blanch. Kevin is down in Florida. He's on the beaches, ground zero at the super low tide. And my voice will come in low because I was off-centered. And I don't know why I done that. I done it last night too, I think. I got my mic is set at a very. You got to kind of get your face right in the microphone to really tell the story. These are very expensive microphones. I think this one was $800 plus the taxes and shipping. And it's just, I got a lot of equipment running, so you're going to get background noise. There's a fan right there because we're in summer. I'll be back on the ocean myself tomorrow. Kevin is on the coastline in the tidal zones too. And we're seeing both the Atlantic and the Pacific. The only way to describe it is an extinction event. And I think the world needs to we can't keep this lie up. We can't have a future. The nuclear industry doesn't have a right to sabotage the future of humanity and the 8 million species through this disgusting slow kill that's not so slow anymore. The trickle effect is now in the overdrive, and it's we need to have a real honest conversation, and the media is not going to let you have a conversation, so you're wasting your time. And that's heartbreaking to say something like that. You can't turn to the universities. They gutted you at every stage of this for 80 years on top of that. But now they're 80 years of no checks and balances, no incentive not to be evil. Then they've ended up being incredibly evil every time they open their mouths on this subject. It's a complete betrayal, and the people in the industry are so greedy, they'll exterminate the whole planet just so they can get a paycheck each week. And they play their part. Oh, I'm not really doing a cover-up. Yeah, you are. Don't lie to yourself. Don't be that person. You're claiming nothing got out, but you picked up 30 million one-ton bags. And that's only 3% of the land. And the planet was covered in radioactive fallout. We destroyed the oceans, all of them. Not just the Pacific, but all of them. I've done research on the Pacific for 6 years, 4 to 5 months a year without coming home, staying on the ocean, going through the tide pools once or twice a day. The tide pools, take thousands of pictures and GPSs each day. It's gone. And the industry right now is destroying your ability to have a future. Silence is not an option. There's no, just having a conversation, being honest. What's wrong with being honest? What's wrong with the truth? We're overdue, and it's time to take back your planet. And you can start by just being honest. And if people don't accept the honesty, that's too bad. That's their loss, not yours. So let's close the poll out. Has Fukushima, because this show was an extra show this week, and the idea was to give Kevin Blanch a platform in these critical times, so hopefully we can get his voice out there and the research out there. Has Fukushima's 12 years of constant radioactive fallout already damaged the oceans, already damaged the species worldwide? I showed you more than enough evidence tonight to quantify that poll. More than enough. And so it's a short video for a change, despite the fact that it's an hour and 15 minutes long. That's actually a short video around here. So when I go back up in the ocean, I'm going to be using the big camera with the big gimbal. Instead of I'll live stream for 5 or 10 minutes to let you know I'm out there maybe. But then I'm going to shoot a couple of hours of footage of very, very high quality. And then I'm going to post it on my channel on YouTube when I get back ashore. And because the files are going to be a couple of 100 gigabytes, it's probably going to take quite a few hours for it to show up, the upload. But give it a couple of hours after it uploads for it to convert so you can get really high quality. Because these big files, they do take quite a while before the quality shows up on your side. It'll show up right away, but it'll be low quality. I'll be shooting in serious, incredible quality. That will look good at low quality, but it'll be worth your time. Everything will be by gimbal. And because the live stream is good, but the footage is not that great compared to what it should be and is supposed to be, right? And so I'll just acknowledge I'm on the ocean today, and that night check later that day, and you'll find incredible footage. I hope that turns out great, because that's the intentions. We got 32 votes. Got 100%. Yes, we have destroyed the oceans. We'll see everybody on Sunday if I don't burn out. We burnt out last week. I didn't do a Sunday show. And Colette said my audio was down, so I turned it up. Hopefully it's a bit better. And my voice was off center again for the first half tonight. I apologize for that. Good night, everybody. Hugs for everybody. Have a great night. Great day tomorrow, if that's possible. And we'll see everybody. We'll see everybody hopefully on Sunday. And it's hard for me to keep up with how many things I got going on, because I have to dedicate every second of every day to what I'm doing on this, because we don't have academics anymore, we don't have professors anymore, we don't have scientists anymore. We have scumbags and monsters and demonic demons and sellouts. Have a great night. We'll see you. Thank you, Colette. My sound was great tonight. I appreciate it, because there's nothing worse than bad sound, so that's great to know. See everybody tomorrow or Sunday. If I'm here tomorrow, it's because there's an event, so you'll tune in, hopefully, if you see me show up. I should be on the ocean tomorrow. If the weather looks good so far, we'll have a great night, great day tomorrow and the weekend. We'll see everybody on Sunday. Take care. So make sure you give me a thumbs up if you can, if you made it this far. Have a great night, a great weekend. Check Kevin's site. He's regularly posting videos on the research expedition he's on. Have a great night, folks.